Okay guys, Will here from Radio Flight. This is part two of the repair that I'm doing after a crash, and I broke the nose off from here forward. So if you watched the first video, I talked about how I dremeled this out. There was a nice clean break. I was able to piece it together, but then what I did was I took the Dremel and came in and removed some of the material just to give me a better weld on the outside here. And then what I do is, I don't know if you can see it or not, I took the Dremel and actually made it a couple of places that were a little deeper. There's one right there. There's another one right there. That allows the epoxy to, soak into the joint and, gives it some more depth. But this is basically it. The plane's plenty strong. I put some manual pressure on it, and the repair is plenty strong. What I did here was I put a piece of blue painter's masking tape just to create a little dam for the epoxy and the micro balloons, so it doesn't ooze over into the section where the hatch has to sit. And if it does, it can easily be sanded or cut away. So anyways, I'm going to mix up some 30-minute epoxy with, these are the micro balloons, so you've heard me talk about in a few of my videos, Top Flight lightweight micro balloons filler. Let's take a look at that for a minute. Okay, and this feels like there's nothing in there, but let's see if I can get that off. You want to watch if you're using this in, okay, so it just kind of comes out of there like powder. It's basically what it is. It's milled fiberglass. Okay, you don't want to breathe this in. It's super fine. It's finer than salt. It's actually like if you sanded a fiberglass, like the hull on a boat or something like that. It's even finer than that. So we'll scoop that up and add that into the mixing cup. So then I just use a little mixing cup. My stirring rod today, my stirring stick happens to be a little 1/8-inch square piece of carbon fiber. I also use this stuff for repairs, but this is just what I'm using to mix up the epoxy. And then I got some 70% isopropyl alcohol. That's to clean up any drips or drabs on the fuselage, my fingers, whatever, and a roll of paper towel. And I've got the plane sitting on the earth stand. So let me go ahead and mix some of that up, and I'll show you the consistency. Okay, so I have equal amounts of, excuse me, 30-minute epoxy in there. You can see the hardener's on the left side, and then the resin is on the right. They're both probably about the size of a quarter, maybe like maybe a little bit bigger than a quarter. So then I add my micro balloons, and this is something that you just kind of gotta play with. And then I'm going to take my stick and mix that up. So I'll mix it up and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so there's the micro balloons and the epoxy mixed up. The lighting in here kind of sucks, but it's fairly white. It comes out like an antique white. And that's because the hardener is, the hardener's got some discoloration to it, but I've been using that bottle for a 100-inch span glider this past, I think it was this past winter, late spring. Works fine, gets plenty hard, just discolored. But anyway, so here's the consistency. You can see that it ran to one side of the cup. So it kind of flows. All right, so now we're going to take the stick and we're going to start applying it into this part that I dremeled out. So I'll start doing some of that, and then I'll show it to you. So the idea is we're going to put micro balloons in here, excuse me, and we're going to leave a little concave to accept our lightweight filler. And like I said, this is like a peace of mind. You know, a little bit of extra strength for the repair, and that's it. So I removed the landing gear. So what I'm going to do is this FMS. This is ridiculous. Looks ridiculous. I don't know why they do that. The advertising, right? That's why they do it. I don't know if I can remove this with the polyurethane over it. I'll try. If not, the poly is, there's a little lip right there, a little edge that you can still feel there. I'm going to paint this white. I showed you earlier, I painted the front half of the cowl. So what I'm going to do is fix this, sand it as best I can, and I'll take the white, paint this, blend it back into here a little bit, and it's going to show here, you know, no doubt, because this is yellowed from the polyurethane. I used a regular polyurethane instead of the water-based, kind of an experiment. And then the white I'll bring back into here, and the wing, you know, for the most part, when you're viewing the plane from the top or whatever, it's not going to show because your eye isn't really going to make the connection, hopefully, between the painted section and the section back here. So for all intents and purposes, it's going to look much better than it does now. So, all right, I'll apply some of the micro balloons. I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Micro balloons mixed with 30-minute epoxy. Okay, so I've started adding the micro balloons with my the same stick that I mixed the epoxy and micro balloons up with, and gravity, because of the consistency, is going to start pulling that down, just letting it flow down into the crack. So we'll keep going, and I'll come back and take a look at it. So what I do is I scoop some up. What I do is I scoop some up on the end of the stirring stick. I bring it up here, and then I just kind of let it go like that. Just touch it lightly. Bring it right down into that area that I dremeled out by the landing gear plate. Gravity's going to start making that flow. So, and the trick is that I want a little bit of a concave in there. I don't want to try to create a high spot, because I need to play, you know, I want my filler to finish that off for me. So there's two reasons behind this. One is to add some extra strength, and the other is to you know, make a nice clean repair using the hobby filler. And I mentioned in the comments on the first video, some people use Bondo. Bondo's great. It's it's going to be more expensive. This jar I got at my local shop was $6.99. You can even get it cheaper than that. So the hobby light, I started using this back when I was building. Try to get the lid off this thing. Sorry about the fingers and everything else. Sorry about that. So it's just it's like a lightweight filler, like a spackle. It dries almost like balsa. I started using this with when I was doing a lot of wood kit building, and I've been happy with it. You can also use Bondo. But Bondo, you know, it's more expensive. It's a little more sanding, and but it works. You know, if that's what you have on hand and that's what you want to use, go ahead. I don't think Bondo will affect the foam. I'm not 100% sure. All right, so you see the gravity starting to pull this down. I'm starting to get a little bit of a drip there. So I'm just going to turn the plane. so that gravity helps me take care of that. So I'll pull some of that back up. This is why you want to use 30-minute epoxy, so you give yourself some working time. Okay, let's take a look up at the top. All right, see our little dam working there? So we can take some of that out of there. It's just less work we have to do later. So, looks pretty good. We'll let that settle out. Sorry about my camera work. Need to take a course in video editing and just shoot. I have a really good camera, and I just don't use it. So, sorry about dropping my phone on the floor too, for your sake and mine. So I'm going to do the other side, and we'll go from there. I'm also going to, after I get this all done and I sand it, try to remove this, like I said. All this is going to get painted over. I'm going to paint this, just bring the white right back down into here, and fade it out right here. This little hatch for access to your receiver goes on the bottom. I'll probably sand that out and shoot that white too. Not really sure about that yet. I may tape off the blue, but anyways, we don't care about that. So that's it. 30-minute epoxy, micro balloons. It will be more of a white. If you had a clear epoxy they were using, you wouldn't have that dark look to it. But just kind of working around. Like I said, I've got a good strong joint on the inside. I had a real clean break, so everything pretty much fit together perfectly. And it's just like two pieces of a puzzle. That's one thing about these planes I've noticed when they break. A lot of times you get nice clean breaks. Not too many little pieces or splinters. So this is starting to tack up. So I'm going to move over to the other side. We'll come back. And, we'll come back, and then once I get this all done and it sets up, and I'll start showing you how I use the Hobby Light filler. That's from Hobbico. I put a link on the first video. It's available at Tower Hobbies, towerhobbies.com. I just want to mention that all this stuff that you see here is just, I buy it myself. I'm just mentioning Tower Hobbies off the top of my head. There's plenty of other places. All right, guys, we'll come back. We'll make that next video part 3. How's that? Thanks for watching.